In the run and shoot, you're four wides. And really, two formations.
Two mega powers meeting here tonight.
They'll be trying to drink their own sweat to survive, brother.
Hold on, I gotta pull up my socks.
Pull up your socks.
Pull up my socks.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's the Run and Shoot podcast. I'm Ryan. He's Chuck. Chuck, how's it going today, man?
It's going pretty good today, man. I'm glad to be back on here again. We got tons to talk about today, man.
Tons to talk about. We're just barely dipping our toe back into sports, and we still got a ton to talk about and a ton still to speculate about, right?
That's right. But let's see. We had baseball open up this last week. I think Thursday.
I've enjoyed getting to watch baseball so far. The Braves, a rocky start, and then they demolished the ball out of the park the other night, just ran it up on the Mets. Then to have a bit of a stinker last night against the Rays. But overall, what have you seen so far from the MLB?
I got to see some Reds and Tigers, and I think surprisingly to see the Reds actually dominate a game. I think it was like 7-1. Let me pull up the box score. Yep, 7-1. So it was pretty nice to see that. Got to see some Indians and Royals a little bit. That was cool. Got to see and they did not wear the Indian logo.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We got to be politically correct.
Yeah,
excuse
me.
Whatever that means.
Pardon my French. Don't want to make anybody upset.
And speaking of the MLB, what are you seeing as far as what we're currently seeing coming out about some of these COVID positives? I think that started with the Marlins players.
It's scary to know that, I love what we're doing with baseball. It's back, and, we're taking every safety precaution that we can be, but you're always going to have that outside risk of a team that's going to have COVID-19.
You're going to have positive tests, and it's something that I think you have to have plans in place for. And I think the plan so far is to truck right along and hope for the best here, right?
Right. But
so far.
I think I don't know if this is worst case scenario, but it's a nightmarish scenario that has just happened with the Marlins. I think we have a total of 17 tests confirmed positive of COVID-19 for the Marlins. So MLB has shut them down. I don't know how long. I think it's indefinitely for a little bit until they figure out what's going on. But you also got the Philadelphia Phillies. They also got shut down. Now, the reason that the Philadelphia Phillies got shut down is because they played the Marlins. So
okay.
you got that 14-day quarantine. Now, depending on the results from the Phillies, they could be back in by August the 3rd.
Okay.
So they could be fine when all this is said and done, but then you could have another outbreak just like the Marlins have had.
Yeah, and they're not doing the bubble structure. They're going to be traveling, and they're playing in empty stadiums, so you got to hope that they have good procedures in place. Now, getting to see, because we heard they were going to have the cardboard cutouts in the stands that you could pay for. Getting to see those, it is pretty cool, and you saw the one's head get knocked off the other day. I think from what I understand, most teams are saying that if your cardboard cutout gets hit by a ball, they'll actually send you that ball. That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. It just goes back to what I said last week. It's something new to get the fans involved, even though the fans are not there.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what I said before the podcast. It's not a Phillies game without, hearing the boos and, flipping the bird a little bit.
Right, for sure. And they said also, out of habit, most of the cutouts in L.A. Got up and left in the 5th inning to avoid traffic, just out of habit.
Perfect.
Right?
Perfect.
But it's cool because you've seen a lot of people just have their dogs or their cats' faces on there, grandparents, and then just some funny looks as far as, when they have put their pictures up there. There was a White Sox fan that bought like 100 seats behind the visitors' dugout and just put his picture there. I guess he's typically there heckling them, so he wanted to just do his part best he could.
Like I said, it goes in with a lot of creativity like that. You get some of these super fans that, have the money to go and buy all that. And then you also have advertisement opportunities. So the sky's the limit what you can do with it.
For sure. And it's cool that at least they're saying the money earned from that's mostly going to be going to charity.
Right.
Also, they said Houston Astros pitcher Justin Verlander was getting it on Twitter the other day from a lot of folks poking fun at him because he's out right now for at least 2 weeks with a forearm strain. And ironically, Chuck, Verlander's married to Kate Upton, who, if you don't know, one of the leading causes of forearm strain in men across America. Am I right?
That is right. I mean, she's like a swimsuit model for Sports Illustrated, and she's one of the hotter women in pretty much the entire world.
You talk about outkicking your coverage. Justin Verlander here certainly did.
So I guess he's just been lonely lately.
Pitcher arm issues for a pitcher going to be typically pretty normal.
Pretty normal.
So we had MLB action. We're hoping that it lasts. We're going to see how these COVID tests go. Again, hoping for the best. Obviously, not preparing for the worst at this point because it still looks like it's going to be. I'm optimistic that we're going to keep this going because it looks great. The first FanDuel I've got in, I was telling you, Chuck. I got in one FanDuel so far. Opening day MLB. Won like $75 on a $3 entry. Feeling good. I'm just hoping to get to play more.
So how did that feel just actually starting to bet on sports again?
Oh, it felt great.
Felt good?
It felt great.
Good.
And, I was watching it, and I was like, oh, there's a chance here. But in those FanDuels, usually you got to pick the optimal lineup. You got to be pretty close. You can't miss on much. I fell asleep, woke up, and I was like, oh, hey, actually cashed out. I was like a 200-something place out of like 20,000 people. Hey.
But fans are starting to bet again. And here's another topic like betting. Fantasy football is around the corner. So it makes me wonder, how is that going to work?
It's going to be weird. I have a league that I run too, and I've not totally addressed the issue yet at all.
See, you're part of my league.
Yep.
And I've already sent mass text messages out to the team members saying, hey, no meetings this year. Do you want to bet money? If not, we'll just play for the belt because you gotta put in that possibility of no football. I mean, you have to. But I think we're going to have a start of the season. That's my projection. But I wouldn't be surprised by week 8. Hey, they're not going down. It's getting worse. We're going to have to shut it down.
And I think most leagues are probably just going to try to approach things as normal as they can. Probably what I would think most folks are going to do is just issue more IR spots because of all the potential, right, of having your player get tested for COVID and have to quarantine for a week or 2 weeks or whatever that may be, however they handle it. But if you have those extra IR spots, I feel like it makes it more fair, right? Yeah. Or do you add more bench spots where you can keep more folks as far as free agents?
I think like on Yahoo.com. I played Yahoo.com since I was in 8th grade when this was first starting up. So I know there's IR slots you can put into your fantasy football team.
Yeah, you can add more.
You can add more. So, I mean, I would at least put 2 on there just in case because you gotta have that possibility.
I think you need to throw 5 per team.
You think 5?
5 IR spots and add 2 bench players.
See, what worries me when you do that, you could have stashing away these players if you have too much. You know what I'm saying?
But with IR spots, they have to have an injured designation to be able to put them on there. And when they come off of that injured designation, it makes you use a roster spot for them when you pull them back. So you really couldn't in that space. Now, if you added the 2 bench spots, definitely you would, but I think it'd be needed. It's kind of like where I think NFL teams, MLB teams, NBA teams are going to have expanded practice squads to pull from.
Right.
I think you should probably do that in fantasy football too, just to make it a little easier to manage.
So, with that being said, I think it's not a bad idea, but I think as a league commissioner for fantasy football sport in general, period, if you're doing baseball, I don't know if they're doing baseball or not.
Yeah, really will.
But
that's the diehards.
Especially if you have money leagues, you're going to have to plan accordingly. You're going to have to plan for the just in case. I mean, I know I may be speaking like we're actually really sports franchise owners and stuff, but we are. I mean, when our money, hard-working money's on the line, we want to make sure the money gets distributed.
Well, you've seen like my league. It's mostly a lot of buddies I've grown up with, and it's changed throughout the years as far as who's owning what team. But no matter what, you got to shake down people towards the end of the year to get money anyways, because it's like mine's like a $20 entry, but it's like pulling teeth to get that out of folks sometimes.
I get that because you have to chase down people. But,
so by the time it's time to pay, we'll know anyways, probably in my league. Let's be real.
I think with that being said, fantasy football, could be in limbo. The NFL could be in limbo, period, because as you heard, the NFL is given an option. You can opt out this season for a certain amount of money. Like, for example, if you're a low-risk player, you get $150,000.
Okay.
And if you're a high-risk player, like to get COVID-19, you get $350,000.
And I guess that's determined by a doctor, by the team doctor.
I guess.
And by medical records and your history and things like that.
I guess it just, like you said, just depending what you have.
So is Eric Berry on a roster?
As of right now, he's not, I don't think.
Because, I mean, he would definitely be high risk.
You got to, because
guys like that if so like James Conner, same thing. He battled cancer.
He's
at
not
Pitt.
He's not going to opt out.
No, he's a tough dude. He'll fight right on through it. But if he wanted to, I would think he would definitely get that at-risk designation, right?
But exactly. So with that being said, the NFL today had quite a few opt out today.
Yeah, who all are you seeing?
What I'm seeing, I think the biggest loss today, you look at the New England Patriots, they had 6 players just gone from the team. I got, actually it's 5. Dan Vitale, he's a fullback for them. He just recently came from the Green Bay Packers. He's going to opt out. Brandon Bolden, he's...
Yep, running back.
I don't know how much of a bigger loss that will be, but still, that's another body
they
gone.
like to use a stable.
Well, they do, but that's another body gone. You got Marcus Cannon. That's a starting caliber offensive lineman. Gone. He's probably one of the top run blocking linemen in the league, and he's gone.
And you've not even hit on the major ones yet.
Oh, no. We've got Patrick Chung, a safety, and Dante Hightower, linebacker. And here, the last couple of years for the New England Patriots, they've had a good top 5 caliber bunch of players on defense.
Yeah.
You lose 2 of them that are very good, and now it just puts into question. My question to you after telling this, this is just New England Patriots I just mentioned.
There was a 6th, offensive lineman Najee Torrent.
Okay, so there was 6. This is just the New England Patriots.
There'll be more.
There's
I would
going
think.
to be more.
And Marquise Goodwin, I know, was the most recent I saw with the Eagles. He was traded on draft day, this past draft, to the Eagles. He opted out. I think he has a young child at home. So that's what he mentioned. Also for the Ravens, I see offensive tackle Andre Smith, wide receiver DeAnthony Thomas. They've opted out already. Titans fans probably remember offensive guard Chance Warmack. We drafted him. Was a top 10 pick, or was he the 10th or 11th pick?
He was like 6th, 7th. He was right up there.
It was a high first round pick. Wasn't terrible with us, but we certainly didn't deserve a second contract. So he was let go. He didn't play last year, and he was just signed to the Seahawks this offseason, but he's opted also to forego his season. The Texans so far, defensive lineman Eddie Vanderdoes. I'm not real familiar with him. So probably a depth guy there. Now for the Titans so far, offensive tackle Anthony McKinney. So some depth on the offensive line. He's opted out. For the Vikings, I'm seeing defensive lineman Michael Pierce. Who else do we have? The Saints. Again, not a significant name, but tight end Cole Wick. For the Packers, though, I didn't even realize that they had picked up Devin Funchess as far as a wide receiver. Remember, he played at Michigan back in the day, and he was also the target of Cam Newton for years. He's opted out this year, so that's one less target for Aaron Rodgers.
And that sucks for them because they're already scratching at the bit for targets, and you lose one more, and he's actually a decent target.
You know who they need to go look at?
What's that?
Des Bryant. Why not? Did you see he was working out with some of the Cowboys receivers? So I wouldn't be surprised to see him sign back with the Cowboys. But
what about
if I'm the Packers, give him a little money.
What about Antonio Bryant?
Antonio Brown? Antonio Bryant. Now, you remember Antonio Bryant in his Tampa Bay days. If you could bring him back and he could still be, halfway productive, absolutely. He was awesome. But
I meant AB, but...
AB is a nutcase. I don't know if anybody wants that guy around. He may be less wanted in the league than Colin Kaepernick. But you know what? If he goes anywhere, I think he goes to Tampa Bay with Tom Brady.
But it's Russell Wilson wants him.
Yeah, man. They just seem like polar opposites, right?
Well, it does, but he's put in work with Russell Wilson.
If they can make it work and he can come in there and humble himself just a little bit and just keep his nose down and play good football like he's capable of doing, he's an all-star talent. We've all seen that, right?
Very. He's once in a lifetime talent. I mean, he's good. He's like a Jerry Rice talent if he can be.
He's just got to get his head straight, man. And I don't know if it's like if he literally has issues from concussions, or if he's, sometimes you get that money, you get that fame, and you saw he made the cover of Madden, and he lost his mind.
Yeah, I mean, but back to the opt-outs. My question to you, Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what is the common denominator that we see all in these players' names? I'm not saying these players suck in any kind of way, but these names are not high-caliber names.
And some we've just not got to some of those, and it may be a harder decision for some of those guys. Now, offensive guard Laurent, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Laurent Duvernay Tardif. You saw he opted out. Now, he actually works in the medical field, right?
Yeah.
So he's going to opt to actually try to help folks during this pandemic. So, props to him. But now he's a starter, and he's a significant guy as far as on that offensive line.
That one's kind of like a different thing there.
And now also defensive lineman, and I didn't realize he was with Buffalo now, but Star Lutulele, he's opted out.
But he has some health issues.
I think he has. I don't know what those are. And then also apparently defensive tackle Eddie Goldman with the Bears, and he's a starter. He's going to be sitting out.
But you got starters, no matter what, like Dante Hightower, Patrick Chung, Goldman. But here's the thing. I'm not panicky yet with all these opt-outs. I am concerned, but
for sure.
I am concerned because is this a sign of things to come?
You'll see more. I mean, we'll see more opt-outs, I think. We'll probably see more star power in some of the opt-outs, but I think a lot of the folks are just ready to get back to playing ball.
Right.
We'll see how it goes. I'm going to remain optimistic at this point and hope that we do at least, get a full season. It's like everything else. I think Scott Van Pelt said something on Twitter the other day, almost to the effect of, my answer for everything this year is just turning out to be, I have no idea.
I mean,
and that's kind of how you approach it. You just got to be optimistic, especially as a sports fan right now. I'm like, look, they're coming back. We're going to get through this. We're going to find a way, and we're going to get back to having fun.
But it's just like you said last week. We're in uncharted territory a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we'll wait and see. But I'm concerned, but I'm not going to be panicky yet until we start seeing like a Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, Drew Brees. So some of these star players that are even taking a cut from their salary just to take a $150,000 cut. I mean, I don't know, but I'm not going to worry yet. I think the season's on point. It's going to start regardless, but is it going to finish? I don't know. I don't know.
Yet to be seen.
But did you know pro hockey and pro hockey, NHL, Seattle's getting a team again?
Yeah, I saw that. I like the jerseys, actually. The Krakens.
I like it.
The Krakens. And it reminds me of, what? Is there a whiskey? Is it the Kraken? What is the Kraken? What is that? Is that Jameson?
It's the Kraken.
The Kraken.
It is called the Kraken.
Cool looking jerseys. It's the 32nd team, I think, so it makes it an even number for the NHL. Seattle's an awesome sports town. They need an NBA team back there. It's good to see that they're going to be represented in the National Hockey League.
Well, I mean, like you said, you got the Mariners who have always been below par all the time. You got the Seattle
Not in the Griffey days.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about the 2000s.
Right.
But Seahawks have been pretty much carrying that city on their back for the past decade alone as far as like going to championships, being a high caliber playoff and Super Bowl team. Now you get the Seattle Krakens. I guess that's how it's going to be pronounced. I mean, I looked at the uniforms, pretty neat. It's kind of a neat concept. If you know any mythological creatures, the Kraken's supposed to be the most mightiest beast on the sea and stuff like that. So I like where they're going with it. I guess they're going to say, like, look, we're going to be a powerful force to be dealt with in the league. It's better than Washington, the R's or whatever, the Washington football team.
The Washington football team. Get it correct,
Washington football team. So they could have said the Seattle hockey team,
I think Kraken sounds a little cooler. For sure. And so it's the second expansion team we've had in just the last couple of years. It doesn't seem that long ago that Las Vegas got theirs, but it's been a little while now, a few years.
You also got the Winnipeg Jets that wouldn't, not too far long ago they were famous. So NHL has come a long way.
And we lost some talent now to the Golden Knights when they drafted out. Who are you worried about potentially losing from the Predators? Any specific names?
Really no specific names right now.
Was it Sism we lost, and that one was the biggest, probably.
That was a big one.
So we'll see. You're obviously going to have with those expansion drafts. I don't remember exactly how it works, but you can protect so many players on your roster, and then they get their pick of the litter from there as far as across the league.
Yeah.
They'll fill them out. Let's see if they're anywhere near as good as Las Vegas when they got things started, because they come out hot.
So just, we ain't going to see a Mason Crosby go.
No.
You ain't going to see, Sidney Crosby. You ain't going to see Sidney Crosby go over there. That'd be hilarious.
Mason Crosby going over there to kick field goals for him, huh?
Well, yeah, pretty much.
There we go. Chuckism.
Chuckism, number one. I wonder how many I can get in for the night's out.
Hey, man. Tally him up.
And speaking, we're going to stick in Seattle. We've got the Seahawks have just completed a blockbuster trade with the New York Jets. If you have not kept up with Jamal Adams, he's been wanting out of New York for a long time. There's been certain turmoil there that's been going on, with the team and Adams for a while. And that's a shame because he really wanted to work out with New York City. He's like, I'm going to be a New York Jet for life. Jamal Adams got traded to the Seattle Seahawks.
Big time get for Seattle.
But is it worth the price they had to pay?
I think so. They gave up a lot of draft capital. They've not been traditionally very well as far as with some of their picks. Now, some of them, Paul Richardson panned out till he ended up taking off for Washington. He wasn't a high-round pick. I think he was a fourth. Now, Lockett, I think he was a second-round pick.
Right.
So they've hit on a few. But as far as if you're giving up unknown draft picks, right? You don't know what you're going to get some value out of those. But you're giving them up for a known commodity in Jamal Adams, one of the most fierce safeties in the league right now. I saw there was some chirping back and forth between him and Le'Veon Bell. And the most ironic thing about it, Le'Veon Bell was giving him a bunch of hell about taking off, and apparently I didn't talk to him about it or something like that. But he says, I guess he made him some empty promises and kind of helped in the recruiting process of bringing Le'Veon there. But the ironic thing, he left a hell of a squad with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Big Ben, him, Antonio Brown were there tearing things up. Just
the Killer Bees.
Yeah, they had a tremendous season. He sets the next year out. Sets it out totally because now the Steelers should have probably gave him the extension. But if he was this big of a diva behind the scenes, I don't blame him.
Right.
So he forced his way out of there, set out a year, and then got traded down to the Jets. And now he's given Jamal Adams shit about wanting to get out of there, and he's going to a beautiful situation. Legion of Boom 2.0, potentially.
So, to me, when I look at this trade, they're willing to pay that much capital. They must know that this guy is going to make an impact immediately and probably help turn the West in their favor. And that's what they need. They've got to have help on that defensive side of the ball. Like I said, that linebacking core is good. That if they can get Clowney back over there,
I think he's done. This move signifies the end of Clowney in Seattle. Not a relationship that lasted very long. Titans fans want him, and that's all you've seen on Titans Twitter for a while. And we'll see if he wants to be in Tennessee. Tennessee wants him. New England has some new room open up with all of those players sitting out. Obviously, I think they have the most. 20 million something in cap space that came out of all of that.
They can pay him.
I don't know that. I've also seen some folks saying it's not a New England move to go out there and sign, Clowney for that defense. Well, I don't know where he's going to end up.
Well, J. Rob has even told him, I'm not going to negotiate with you unless we do a,
in-person workout.
An in-person workout. It's like, I'm not doing it. That's smart. And you got Vrabel, who is just sick and tired of just all this. I think we're just to the point, like if we were rating this at a 1 to 10 of the Clowney sweepstakes, the Titans would right now probably be at a 3. Now, a couple of months ago, I thought we were at like an 8-7 situation, like we're close to signing this guy. But this guy is just riding I mean,
I don't know what the big delay is, honestly.
I
but
just think the guy is hogging the spotlight because to me, yes, free agency, you need to go get you a job, but I guess he's just riding that money he has and just kind of riding, it's all about me. I'm going to let him come to me. Because if you think about it, if you're a star player in free agency, it's about you.
that's true.
I mean, look at Tom Brady. It was about him. He said, I'm not going to teams. Teams are coming to me.
Well, and with that kind of star power and that kind of legacy, you can do that.
Yeah, 6 championship rings speak for themselves.
For sure. I feel like when Tom Brady left, if he wanted to go to just about any team out there that doesn't have a bona fide starter, they're going to welcome him with open arms and a bulldozer full of cash.
Right. Patrick Mahomes, we're kind of keeping the NFL. It's kind of NFL and
We'll
MLB.
just jump around. Why not?
Well, this is kind of NFL. I'm just trying to keep a pattern here. Just run and shoot with it.
Get it.
So we got Patrick Mahomes, who just recently bought a part of the KC Rules. Pretty neat story with that. I read an article on CBS Sports about it, how, he grew up being a Royals fan, kind of hanging out in the clubhouse. His dad, Pat Mahomes, it was also a Major League Baseball pitcher.
Okay.
So I think he was part of the Royals organization. So there's deep ties there. So it's not just like a random, I've just made $500 million. I'm going to go buy a stake in the Royals just because I can. No, I mean, he bought it for a reason. Pretty neat.
Pretty good investment there. Pretty good first investment with all that cash, right?
Right. And the NFL also said this. I don't know how this is going to work out. This is crazy if it actually works out. The NFL players, if they attend a high-risk event, like if it's considered a high risk to get COVID-19, you get COVID-19, you won't get paid for it.
So, if they catch you at a strip club in Atlanta eating hot wings with a rapper, they're probably going to fine you.
Probably, and you won't get paid for it.
Okay. How does that? So what they're doing is this if they test positive and they trace it back to them being at a high-risk event, or if they just get caught being at a high-risk event?
This is all just a fluent situation.
Okay, it's not been totally detailed just yet.
It's just I caught it. I caught it on the article, and I was just like, there's really no details. All they said, it's probably going to cause backlash by the players, Everywhere's a high-risk event.
For sure.
Anywhere's high risk.
Playing football, 11 on 11 out there and tackling each other, there's risk involved.
I just think that's going to fall through. I don't foresee that really.
It'll be interesting to see how they enforce it.
Right. And then you also got Lou Williams of the Los Angeles Clippers. This one out of all of them have just made me die out laughing.
Oh, my God. Me too. And it's also made me crave chicken wings. So as we just mentioned, Lou Williams is who we alluded to there. He was caught because he was hanging out with Jack Harlow, the rapper. I guess he put it on his Instagram story or something. Basically a selfie with Lou Williams, and he then retracted he deleted it, and then he tweeted something out that said something like, that was an old picture of me and Lou. The problem, Lou was wearing his NBA-issued face mask.
That they gave out.
In the picture. And then his excuse, though, so he was out, I think it was a family friend had passed away, so he was attending a funeral, but he said he had to stop in because they have the best chicken wings around. And then Johnny Manziel even jumped in some mentions the other day, and I noticed that he said, look, I'm here to vouch for it. The best chicken wings I've ever had in my life.
But it's just, did you hear what's going to happen to him?
What's that?
He's going to get quarantined for 10 to 14 days. He'll miss 2 seeding games and will lose $150,000.
That's a lot.
Well, I mean, I guess they're going to...
But you got to be smarter than that, especially if you're doing the bubble thing. Come on, man.
Hey, I guess that booty and them wings were worth it, man.
I would say so. Like I said, now I'm gonna have to get down there and check it out. Also, did you see this? So the NBA is going to be dealing with fans a little bit different than baseball because baseball doesn't have fans, right?
Right.
Well, the NBA won't either, but when they get restarted, 300 fans are going to get to attend each game virtually, like a big Zoom meeting type thing.
I saw that. I saw the NBA doing that on the. Did you see what they're doing the side court?
Yeah, it's gonna be like you're sitting there, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's pretty neat. At first, I thought it was like an NBA 2K20 or something like playing, but I looked and I was like, "Hey, that's pretty cool." Because I've got TikTok, and they showed it on TikTok.
Yeah, they're gonna like live stream their faces on giant courtside video screens so that the players actually see them and the reactions and things like that. They said they're also gonna have a screen behind each basket like that. So maybe you could even, do you think you could have fans trying to throw off free throws, and doing all those antics and taunts
Well,
back there?
it's like the cardboard thing. They're trying to up the ante a little bit. And obviously this is going to cost way more money to do this. But
the NBA's got money for this.
What if you do it in the confines of your home, you can get like you thought the cardboard thing was creative, you can get super creative with this.
I wonder the first person that's going to get cut off because of doing something dirty. What do you think they're going to be doing? You think they're going to be mooning somebody, throwing some birds, maybe cussing somebody out when their bet doesn't work out?
Flashing or mooning is like the first thing that comes to mind.
For sure. You're going to see something like what in the World Series, was it last year? You had the two girls flashing behind home plate.
Whoa.
Instagram models, man, and they went viral instantly.
I saw that live.
Yeah.
and I was at my dad's house watching that.
Did he say, "Chuck, cover your eyes, bud"?
Yeah. But but no, it's just I remember I was sitting there watching that, and Dad's like saying, "I'm not into baseball," and he throws a pitch, and I'm like, he caught it first. I was like, I think I saw some titties.
That boobies up there in the stands?
That's what he said, man. And he has DVR. We rewind it back, and I was like, oh my God.
Just a bit outside. Well, look up there. Pair of boobs. 2 pairs of boobs right behind home plate. Up, let's cut to commercials.
Look at them knockers right there. Look at them knockers.
That's what you potentially you're going to see something even worse.
I know I may be getting off topic. Could you imagine Dick Vitale up there? Hey, baby, look at them knockers right there all day long. Slammer jammer.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe we can get some of these live streamed for the NCAA tournament if that happens next year.
But that was a freak thing.
Oh, yeah.
That was hilarious.
Oh, yeah. They knew what they were doing. It was planned out. Those ladies are professionals.
Yeah.
As far as that goes.
We also have the NBA scrimmages going on. As you know, we're right around the corner. This Thursday, we're getting NBA basketball back.
Hallelujah.
And it seems like they're really handling all the, handling the bubble, handling all these cases.
They're doing well. I don't think there's any positive cases that I've seen yet.
Not that to my knowledge that they are. But it's back, and we're going to see some basketball.
Going to see some basketball. Going to see some play-in. We got the 8 play-in games for each team as far as looking to make the tournament.
Right. And just seeing the scrimmages, what we're in for is something unique.
They're looking competitive.
They look good. I mean, they look competitive. As you know, scrimmages just get them back into game shape, getting ready to go.
It's going to take a minute for them to get used to playing with no stands and the weird sound effects and all the sounds they're not used to being able to hear so clearly on the court. I'm sure they'll get used to that pretty quickly. And I think we're going to have a good product out there. I love watching it. Not having fans doesn't bother me one bit.
I'm just waiting for the NHL's Robin Round tournament. That's going to be neat. So we've got a lot to look forward to this weekend.
Absolutely we do.
So I'm excited. And I'll tell you what else I'm looking forward to.
What's that?
The baddest man on the planet is back. Iron Mike Tyson is back.
Iron Mike Tyson recently confirmed that he is going to be fighting. Go ahead, Chuck. What details you got on that?
What I've got, he'll be fighting Roy Jones Jr. He's also a former boxing legend. This is kind of like legend versus legend a little bit. On September 12th in an exhibition 8-round matchup. So,
who do you think wins?
I gotta go with the Iron Mike, man. I don't care how long he's out. That dude, he's a bad man.
He is a bad man. Some of the videos you've seen of him working out and hitting the bag and just practicing there in the ring and scrimmaging, sparring, he looks like a pretty bad dude, regardless of age.
I wouldn't cross paths with him.
No. Now, and you got to hand it, though, to Roy Jones Jr. He's going to get him a payday out of it. Well, he looks like he's in good shape, too.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. This is not for ranking. This is not actually for positioning for a title. This is for money.
Yep, it's an exhibition pay-per-view, $49.99 to watch it.
Yeah.
Two
So
50-plus-year-old boxers going at it.
But there's actually been some naysayers about this match.
Well, what are they saying?
Well, George Foreman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's also a former boxing legend himself, saying that this is not a good idea, could be dangerous for both men.
People probably told him that about his George Foreman grills, and look at the success he had with those.
Yeah, but
You can't listen to everybody.
Here is maybe a future matchup. Holyfield says anytime, anywhere.
Yeah, I would be interested to see it. Also, I also saw that Mike Tyson thinks that he would kick Conor McGregor's ass, and I can't disagree with him there either.
No.
You don't think so? You think McGregor would handle him? Now, are we talking about a boxing match, or are we talking about MMA style? I'm afraid of Mike Tyson either way.
Well, it's just how quick his hands are. He's probably got the quickest hands out of any boxer I've ever seen.
And he just needs to connect one time.
And that's it.
One time.
Game over. Game over.
Mayweather, in my opinion, in that fight with Conor McGregor, I didn't think McGregor stood a chance. He did better than I thought he would, but I honestly thought that he could have put that away in one round if he wanted to. I thought Mayweather toyed with him so that he gave fans their money's worth.
Well, it's just Mayweather is kind of like, he knows boxing. You know what I'm saying?
One of the greatest we've seen, especially when it comes to his defensive style.
That's what I'm saying. He's a defensive fighter. I mean, if he can do a knockout, he can, but he exhausts you enough to go on for the kill.
Right.
That's what he did with McGregor. That's what he did all his career.
But Iron Mike, that's not his style.
No.
Iron Mike's going to come at you and he's going to rip your head off.
He is he's just a bad man.
Yeah, so do you
Bad
think
man.
this fight, Tyson, Roy Jones Jr., you think we're going to get our money's worth? $50 pay-per-view? I'm definitely watching.
First round, 10 seconds, Mike Tyson knockout. Bam.
That's what you're calling.
I'm
10
calling.
second? No, I don't think so.
I'm calling.
I think we get at least 2 rounds out of it.
So that's pretty cool.
We'll see. They're both 50-plus. I think we definitely get a knockout, one way or the other. And we're going to see. Mike Tyson looks like he's in good shape. That body has taken a beating over the years. In the ring, drugs, alcohol, all the above, all the partying, all the craziness.
I'm just going to go in there, and I'm just going to take care of business. I'm just going to do what I got to do. I'm back, boys. I'm back.
I can't wait for it. It's exciting, though. I hope it brings out more exhibition matches. You know what? Maybe, schedule a fight for Foreman, too.
But I want to see that. Like if, let's say, Mike Tyson and Jones actually, the bill, there are a lot of money come out. I would love to see Mike Tyson into that. Foreman, I'll call you off, man, any day of the week.
As long as you plan things right, you can accomplish a lot of things as far as these live events. You saw the UFC Fight Island. That was a success. I thought that was awesome.
That was very creative on Dana White's part.
For sure, and it was a giant success on his part. I think he got everybody there safely, got everybody back safely. Everything seemed to go off without a hitch.
I was about to say, no confirmed tests.
Yeah.
None. So, I mean, that's a giant success.
And they're in there slugging it out.
And some more Titans news. Isaiah Wilson, our first-round pick that we had, will be put on COVID reserve list. Now, what this means exactly is that they did not come out and say he has a confirmed positive test.
So it's like he's waiting on a result?
Well, I think he was around somebody that did have a positive test.
Okay, so then he's obviously probably had to get tested.
So it's kind of like a wait and see. Now, if he comes out negative, he might be off the list.
I would imagine they're getting those good tests. Being a Titans player where they're going to get it within 24 hours.
Vic Beasley is also on a list, but this list is kind of a little more concerning. He did not report.
Okay. And I don't know all the facts behind. Did the Titans know he wasn't going to report, or was it a surprise?
There's
thing?
actually been no actual reason why he did not report, so it makes it a little more concerning.
Okay, I'm confident he'll make it back to camp, or he'll make it to camp. He's going to be an exciting addition to that defense as far as rushing the passer.
And as you said, breaking news just a few minutes ago, Joey Bosa got a humongous deal, 5-year, $135 million, 78 guarantee. So that's one. I mean, that's one Bosa boy paid. The other one's going to get paid.
$78 million guaranteed. Just Chuck, if somebody just gave you $1 million, what would you do with it?
Well, being a family man, I got to make sure that I take care of my kids, and I want to take care of my debt, and I don't know. I might go on vacation. What would you do, Ryan?
There you go. What would I do with $1 million?
What would you do? Tell me.
2 girls at the same time, man. So moving on. Chuck, you wanted to talk about our top 5 sports movie villains of all time, and you put together a top 5 list. I also put together a top 5 list. I want to hear these out. So let's start with our number 5s. Chuck, who is your number 5 on your top 5 list, sports movie villains?
As you know, Dodgeball is a good part of my teenhood a little bit.
We all love that movie.
Probably the greatest saying in all that, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. But probably the greatest villain to ever come out of that, Mr. White Goodman.
White Goodman.
White Goodman. I mean,
You make me bleed my own blood.
Cramming up a cram hole the floor.
I love it. It's a solid choice.
But if you hadn't known, Ben Stiller plays, the titular character, and it is awesome. I mean, the movie's great, hilarious. Vince Vaughn stars as a good lead, and, good all-around movie, and a great, dull-witted bad guy that you love not only to hate but to laugh.
When I picture him, I just picture him in the final scene where he's all fat and he's got the titties and he's
Spare me.
covered in food. Yeah.
Spare me. I won that tournament.
That's hilarious.
Chuck Norris.
So I'm going to start my number 5. Ernie Big Earn McCracken
Bam.
from Kingpin.
That's a good one.
That's a good one, right? And a top 5 list, if he's 5, man, who do we got ahead of him, right?
I mean, I know it's just like, Kingpin is a good movie on its own right.
It's one of my top 10 comedies of all time.
It's one of my favorite Woody Harrelson movies.
Fun fact, so Bill Murray, you saw the final scene. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Kingpin already, you know what? Big deal.
Big deal.
You need to watch it. But at the end, when he wins, those last couple strikes, he actually bowled those. Bill Murray just actually bowled those. They didn't have to shoot it but one time.
That's pretty neat to know because he might be actually a pretty good bowler. We actually might see the Kraken in the professional bowling tournament one day. I would love that. He's a heck of a baseball fan too, Bill Murray is.
Yeah, he is.
Big Cubbies fan.
Who do you got at number 4?
I got a little creative at number 4. I say Remember the Titans. That's a great movie. There's really no particular villain, like person villain in this. Racism, though, was, to me, the biggest villain out of all of it. And the reason I bring this up, if you ever seen Remember the Titans, Remember the Titans, starts out that a small town in Virginia was dealing with segregation a little bit. And, people, black and white, were struggling to come together as one city. And it's all because of racism. And the team came together, black and white, and proved that they can defeat racism. So, to me, at the end of the movie, racism was defeated. And the reason I bring up this movie is because of this day and age of everything going on in our country, our social unrest with racism. Racism is a bad deal.
Well,
and
it's
it always
something,
will
even
be.
when the movie was based, it's something that we've been dealing with and something that they tackle in that movie. And it's such a beautiful, it's one of my favorite sports movies ever. Remember the Titans.
And the point of that movie is that we can overcome together.
Absolutely.
As not just two different races, but as all together human beings. And to me, it's one of the best movies of all time. And to me, that is the greatest villain in that movie.
That's a good one, Chuck. That's a good one.
That's a good one.
My number 4, from The Longest Yard, Warden Hazen.
Ooh, Warden Hazen.
Warden Hazen.
Now, are we talking about the old one with Burt Reynolds, or are we going to go with the Adam Sandler one?
Both of them. The Adam Sandler one was more of a dick, though. It was better to see him get defeated, right? And then he even tried to have him shot there at the end. Warden Hazen, just a bad guy.
Well, the old one, it was basically about Warden Hazen. He was basically the bad guy. You didn't really see the football players, as more on display as Warden Hazen. But when you got the movie, you saw like Brian Bosworth play as a villain, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Kevin Nash's character. My nipples are sensitive.
Yes. I loved that movie. Nelly was in that movie.
Yes.
There were so many stars
Michael
as far as that
Irvin,
goes.
Terry Crews.
Yep. Cheeseburger Eddie.
Cheeseburger Eddie. Acting like a real asshole.
And I love Brucey was my favorite.
I love Brucey.
He said, what were you doing? I was showing him a headlock, man. I was showing him some wrestling moves.
Turn that off, man. Turn that off.
Yeah, I shouldn't have had that popcorn, man. No, I shouldn't have had that popcorn.
But Woodenhazen is a good one. That's a good. I mean, if you look at both movies, the ending was perfect. He overcame him. Whether he goes to jail or anything like that. But
very good.
He beat him. Good one.
Who you got at number 3?
Oh man, Ivan Drago from Rocky IV.
Solid.
But as you know, Rocky 1 and through 3 is more grounded, realistic. But I think what you got with Rocky 4 was more of the Cold War type theme movie.
Mm-hmm.
But they could not picked a better villain than a giant Dolph Lundgren, and he played Ivan Drago amazing. I mean, not only was he bad, he killed Rocky's, arch nemesis, former arch nemesis / friend, Apollo Creed. And it also gave birth. If it wasn't Apollo Creed's death, wasn't for his death, we wouldn't have got Creed 1 and 2.
Right. And did you see the most recent one where they had like Drago's son?
Yeah.
Did you see that one? And
that was awesome.
And he looked like him, right?
And it was just good to see that villain back again.
For sure.
And to me, it's just, he was unstoppable. If he does, he does. But it was a good villain to see to overcome as well.
Classic. I think he makes a lot of people's top 5 lists.
It's top 3 at least, in my opinion.
So coming in at number 3 for me, and surprise, second bowler on this list, Jesus Quintana from the Big Lebowski, right? You don't fuck with the Jesus.
You don't mess with the Jesus. But I love Big Lebowski. There was a lot of good characters in it, but Jesus was awesome.
For sure. A great villain, great rival as far as on the lanes there, and just a pretty rough dude.
Now, they came out with a Jesus movie, didn't you?
I haven't seen it. I heard that. Now, I heard they were going to be making it. Has it been out?
I don't know if it's out yet. I have to look it up. But they are actually doing a Big Lebowski spinoff of Jesus.
Can't wait to see it.
And it's going to be hilarious.
I'm in.
The only thing is, John Goodwin and Jeff Daniels got to be in that.
Dude, Goodman made that. It's one of my favorite
Goodman
characters.
Cross the line, dock 10 points.
Mark it 0, Smokey. This isn't non. We got rules. Classic. One of my all-time favorite movies right there as well, The Big Lebowski.
The Big Lebowski was a classic. Number 2 for me, and this was difficult. 1 and 2 here for me were very difficult. The Shooter McGavin would be number 2.
Here.
He, to me, epitomized not only a bad guy, but a jerk.
Such an awesome bad guy.
But you loved him, man. I loved him. I mean, he was so jerkish, so cocky, but it had a swag with it, just a great overall swag, just saying. I could go over lines over and over again because I know that movie from front to back, Happy Gilmore, probably one of the best sports comedies of all time.
Did you see Happy Gilmore drive that par 5? He said, no, I was busy winning.
That's perfect. Now, I would have put somebody from Waterboy, but it would be a crime against humanity for not having Shooter McGavin on here.
Agreed.
So, who you got number 2?
Number 2, Ray Finkel from Ace Ventura.
That's a good one.
I know you remember Ray Finkel. Laces out, Marino.
Laces out, boy. But it's just like I went back with you. Do you call him I forget what the female that played the...
No, he's Finkel because he still had the dinkle. Remember at the end of the movie? You've seen it. He proved it. She was... he hadn't been snipped. He was simply a tucker. Man. And it was revealed. So
he was a pretty good tucker.
Ray Finkel was just a man in disguise at that point, laying low from the law.
Hey, before there was a tuck rule of Bray, there was Ray Finkel's
gross. Gross. All right, Chuck, and I'll go ahead. You've already hit on my number 1, so I'll go ahead and hit you with mine. Shooter McGavin is my favorite all-time sports movie villain, so he's my number 1. He's also one of my favorite Twitter follows as well. There's like a parody account, Shooter McGavin.
He he's still like a cultural phenomenon himself. He maybe not be as big as some of these, some of the other cultural phenomenons, but when you think of Happy Gilmore, you think of Shooter McGavin.
How about I buy your grandma's house, burn it down, and then I piss on the ashes? What a badass, and what just a terrible dude. But he made for a great villain. And honorable mention, the asshole that was always heckling Happy at all the games, that he was the hired hitman, the guy that ran him over.
You will not make this putt. You want to go for Captain D's later there, Shooter?
He said, "You will not make this putt, you jackass."
God bless, Shooter.
How did he not make the list? He's honorable mention. He definitely could be a reserve here.
To me, my honorable mention would have to be Clobber Lang. All the villains of Rocky were good.
And who was your number one?
My number one has got to be Apollo Creed.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. But as you know, in Rocky 1, he was a champ, undefeated, never been even knocked to the mat. And, he was kind of like painted the, he was kind of like the metaphor, if you will, of a all-star athlete looking over the underdog.
Okay.
And he didn't take Rocky seriously. And, of course, if you've seen Rocky, he overcame the odds and nearly knocked down the champion. But Rocky wanted to just go the distance. But then you really started seeing the villainous turn a little bit in Rocky 2. Not only did he want to beat Rocky, he wanted to destroy Rocky. Not only like knock him out first round, he wanted to crucify him. And to me, that is a driven villain right there.
Absolutely. And, a good number one, Apollo Creed.
Yeah.
You can't beat that. I can't argue that at all.
But it's just like, sometimes when you're a competitor, sometimes you got to be a ruthless son of a gun. Sometimes you got to be a villain. But that was a good top five. I like that top five.
I think so, too. So let's review it one more time. Go ahead. Run right down your top five again. Top five sports movie villains of all time.
5, The White Goodman. Racism. Remember the Titans. At number 3, Ivan Drago. Number 2, the legend himself, Shooter McGavin. And number 1, Apollo Creed.
Apollo Creed. And then running back down mine, starting at 1, of course, Shooter McGavin, Ray Finkel, Jesus Quintana, Warden Hazen from The Longest Yard, and Ernie Big Ern McCracken. You know what? Pretty solid list.
That was big. That was a good list there. Now let's switch over to some of the topics that's been going around, whether we love it or chuck it. What do you say?
Let's get into some love it or chuck it.
All right. As you know, we've been talking about football, COVID-19 possibly being a possibility that we could have a delayed season or even a canceled season. So there's been rumors, been theories that pro and college football would benefit better if moving 2020 season to the spring of 2021. Love it or chuck it, Ryan?
Chuck it. Chuck it as far as you can. I don't think that's a good idea at all. I'm personally under the opinion right now, July 28th, that we're not going to have college football. And that's not the pessimist in me. It's just, I just don't see how it could happen.
We've
canceled games already.
Yeah,
it's the easiest season to just put off. You can just absolutely not have a season. Let the players that were going to be going into the NFL draft, if they still want to do that, let them do that. But give everyone else an extra year of eligibility. And, let coaches do their thing as far as they're already going to be handicapped as far as recruiting, practice, spring games, all that stuff. There's no way we can move this season to the spring. I don't see it happening at all. So
you're going to say chuck it. I'm the same. I'm going to chuck it. You pretty much touched on the points. Like, maybe give them a special red shirt. Just say, hey, if you want to play next year. It won't cost you eligibility. So, I mean, it's uncharted territory a little bit.
Yeah.
And the NCAA is going to have to be lenient if it does go, spring or possibly further.
And just use the extra time that you have to develop a plan for next year to make it safe as you can for everybody. And, let's pray that we have a vaccine and everything's a little bit closer to normal by then anyways.
Right.
The next topic, Chuck. Love it or chuck it. The Last Dance. The greatest sports documentary piece ever done.
Oh, I love it. I just I went over this with you earlier. I feel like that this documentary, it's a 10-part miniseries, and I absolutely loved it. You got to look at a standpoint. Everybody thinks like, oh, this is just all about Michael Jordan. I mean, yeah, for the most part, it's about the rise of Michael Jordan, and Michael Jordan really never had a fall. You know what I'm saying? He had to come through obstacles, but every athlete does. But he never had a fall.
He was still dropping 20 a game with Washington at the end of his career.
That's what I'm saying. But what I love the most, they also talked about the whole Chicago team.
Yeah, a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff.
Right. Like they went in depth with Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, Steve Kerr, like going back over their stories, how they came to be with the Chicago Bulls. And there's another thing, too. It really made me understand how great this Chicago Bulls team was. See, when I was a kid back in the mid-'90s, you know, I didn't like the Chicago Bulls. You know, when I really started paying attention to it is when the Utah Jazz, like Karl Malone, Stockton, I was for those guys.
Yeah.
The blue-collar guys. I liked those guys.
The mailman.
You got the assist all-time leader in Stockton. I mean, I wanted them to win. I always thought it's the Chicago Bulls as being like the empire.
Yeah, I think my favorite Chicago villain was like, or Chicago opponent or rival, I think, was the Supersonics.
Yeah,
I thought, Gary Payton, Sean Kemp, and those guys, a lot of fun watching that team. And again, it's a crime that Seattle doesn't have a basketball team. Somebody needs to make that happen.
Yes.
Move the Magic up there or something. Nobody would ever care about that.
But it's just, I'll finish on this and we'll go on to the next one. They had to deal not only with tough opponents, probably their toughest opponents was themselves. You'll get into it a little bit, Brian. If you watch it, you will see the management trying their best to depart this team. Like, they had to fight. Michael Jordan and these teammates had to fight Jerry Krause, fight the owner. Jerry Krause, by the way, is the former GM.
Right.
And give him credit. He put together the team. He probably put together the best team that the NBA has ever seen.
When you got a squad like that, you do what you can to keep them together and stack as many rings as you can, I think.
And that's the frightening thing, Ryan. If it wasn't for management, if management would just said, let's ride this thing out as long as we can, they could have 10, 11 championships easily. Like at the end of Last Dance, I'll give you a little spoiler. Michael Jordan said what could have been. They said, we wanted to go for a 7th. We wanted to go. They would have got it. There was no doubt in my mind. If they would have got everybody back together, but the management said they feel like it's too impossible to get them back. With a core like that, there's no way. Yeah. To me, but I loved it. I gotta love it. So
yeah, and I think you could say the same too when it comes to what ifs. Man, Kobe and Shaq and that LA squad, same thing. It's the closest I think you can compare to those dynasties as far as that goes. Like the biggest what ifs.
And to me, Michael Jordan was a jerk, but he was the best competitor, not just in basketball, probably in sport that we will ever see.
Oh, right. That man loves to win and hates to lose, and that's what you like to see in a dominant elite athlete.
His teammates feared him and hated him. His own teammates, man. But everybody keeps going back saying, you know how Tom Brady, he won his 6, but they compared his competitiveness to a Michael Jordan because Michael Jordan elevated by himself the Chicago Bulls, not by points, not by stats, but by his drive, by his competitiveness to make his teammates better.
Oh, right. Right. He may have rubbed them wrong and rubbed them the wrong way a few times, but they were better players because of it, right? And because they were surrounded by one of the hardest workers in the game.
But if you haven't watched it, and I'm not just talking about...
Yeah, I've just skimmed it. I've actually got to sit down and watch this. I've got to watch it all the way through.
It's on Netflix. Yeah, I mean, tune in. It's well worth a watch. It may take you a day or two because I think I did like 5 parts one day and then 5 parts the next.
Yeah.
But I loved it. It's probably the greatest sports doc done yet.
I have to check it out.
You got to. All right, number 3. We've got Ronald Acuna Jr. Now, you know who this is. This is a bad jabroni right here, man.
He's a stud.
Now, he got close to 40-40 last year, and if you sports fans don't know what baseball talk is, 40-40 is 40 home runs and 40 stolen bases. That's pretty much almost like an exclusive club in baseball.
Quite the solid stat line.
It is. It's like having 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns in football. It's a solid stat line. But with it being 60 games, do you see Ronald Acuna Jr. get 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases in 60 games?
Yeah, for sure. I love it. Now, the big question mark there, will he stay healthy? And that's the big thing, I think, for a lot of that team. It's a lot of young up-and-comers. Last year, they had quite the success, and I felt like they were about 2 years ahead of schedule as far as from the rebuilding phase of things. A lot of these young players really getting after it. I mean, we saw an offensive explosion the other night again, and we saw guys getting all kinds. Austin Riley hit one to the moon, man. And Dansby Swanson came in there, got it done. Everybody loves Freddie Freeman. This team's stacked full. Ozzie Albies out there as well. But when it comes to Ronald Acuna Jr., I think he's the best player on this team.
That's a big say because Freddie Freeman's been pretty much the stud before he even got there. I think he realizes that Acuna has got to be the guy. I mean, he is.
Now, there's not a knock on Freddie whatsoever. When I say that, I think Acuna, as far as talent and upside potential as far as that goes, I mean, the guy's a slugger. I can't wait to watch this guy on the field more, and I'm just hopeful we get to see the entire 60-game season.
See, what worries me about him not getting this is the COVID. That's the only really...
Yeah, we can factor that into almost anything we think. We're just going to have to be optimistic and look at it as if we're gonna have these seasons.
You're right. Now, I'll let you have number 4, too, and I'll touch on it as well. Tom Thibodeau is back in the NBA, and he's coaching the New York Knicks. Now, the New York Knicks, as you know, has been a laughingstock in the entire NBA for the past 2 decades.
Right.
As Stephen A. Smith, he would tell you all about it.
Right.
But Tom Thibodeau is, like you said, he's an in-your-face kind of a coach that really wants you to, he'll push you to your potential, whether you like it or not. With that being said, do you see him turn around the New York Knicks?
Yeah, so when I saw Tom Thibodeau signed with the New York Knicks, I love it for the Knicks. I hate it for Tom Thibodeau, and here's why. The Knicks have proven time and time again that they have no idea what they're doing from a management perspective. Now, if they let him have some control, and I would imagine that's part of what this is going to be, that he's going to get to come in there and make personnel decisions like he did with Minnesota, and he's going to get full control. And I think when you bring a guy like that in, you've seen his track record. With the Bulls, he was tremendous. He demands a lot out of his players, but they're such better players because of it. He wears them out on the practice squads as far as, on the practice court. He's a very sound defensive coach, and he demands a lot on that end of the ball. And let's be honest, nowadays there's not a lot of kids that embrace solid defense in basketball with all the three-point shooting.
That is true. I like Tom Thibodeau. It's like we talked earlier. I would love to have him as a Memphis Grizzlies coach.
He's the epitome of what that team's trying to do when it comes to grit and grind.
It, baby. Grind it. But I don't know. I kind of want to wait and see on this. Because
it's the Knicks.
It's the Knicks. But Thibodeau, if the team buys in, if Nolan, the owner, can, like you said,
get out of the way,
give him a little bit of control, maybe even get some players in there, this team has a shot. But as of right now, I don't want to say chuck it just yet because we've not seen what he can do yet.
When you say turn around, we're looking at a couple-of-year experiment here. They're not turning anything around this year.
Well, being competitive for
this next season, that is. The next season or two, they're going to have a lot of work to do when it comes to that roster and how they want that team to look. But they're going to have players that can come in there and put in the work because Tom Thibodeau's going to demand it.
I should have been more specific about that because it's not going to take a year. In order for it to be a year, you're going to have to get some stud players.
You're bringing him in here for a multi-year project.
It's a rebuild.
Absolutely it is.
After, the 100th time that the Knicks have rebuilt.
They can't seem to figure it out.
No. But with that being said, number 5, the last one for Love and Chuck It, I know what you're going to say. The Tennessee Vols, as you know, in the 2021 recruiting class, have really tore it up, have really put out a, recruiting coup, if you will, being in the top 3 last time I checked the rankings. But now Alabama's making a good move. They've had 2 4-stars in the last week, but Tennessee's still top 3, top 5. With that being said, will this recruiting class alone for the Vols in 2021 bring the Vols back to an elite level to compete for the SEC?
Chuck it. Are you serious, Chuck?
I'm very serious.
The Vols have a long way to go from where they're at now. I'll tell you what. My opinion, the Vols are going to be looking for a new head coach within the next 2 to 3 years. So we'll see if most of this recruiting class is even still sticking around. But look, I'm not going to rain on your parade, Chuck. What do you think about the Tennessee 2021 recruiting class? And how do you feel about it?
I feel good about it because, one, we're recruiting these defensive edge players. And that's what, Pruitt did. He was recruited defensively because he was defensive coordinator at Georgia. He was defensive coordinator at Alabama. Produced top 5 units every time he did it. So when you have this guy building a defense, and that's where it starts in the SEC, you got to build a defense that not only competes but can bring it every game. And Tennessee showed that a little bit last year. Yes, last year, the beginning of the year was a nightmare. Maybe a dream for you as a Gators fan.
Look, we're the opposite when it comes to that. I feel like when it comes to your opinion, you would rather see a Gators loss any given week than to see a Tennessee Vols win.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the absolute opposite way that you should approach fandom. See, I just like to see the Gators have success. I like to see both teams, when they match up, be competitive. It's just been, let's be honest, Chuck, a really long time since we could say that.
All it takes is a spark, man. All it takes is one spark.
A spark and an absolute miracle.
I give it 2 or 3 years, we'll be back in the SEC championship.
You think so?
And win it.
I don't know about it, Chuck, but I like your optimism.
But I like the class. It's a good class. But now we'll switch over. I kind of want to talk about the Titans season preview.
And you put together here Titans season preview blank game, and I like it. We've got a couple of topics to hit on. Chuck, let me ask you the first one. Who is your player to watch on the Tennessee Titans in 2020?
There was a lot of good choices here. I mean, I could have touched on
a lot of good players to watch here.
Well, I could have said Giannu Smith. I could have said Harold Landry III. I could have said, obviously, Derrick Henry. But this guy I'm going to mention has got a lot on the line, and that's Corey Davis. As you know, Corey Davis came out of, was it Western Michigan, right? I think it was Western Michigan. Yeah. And he was a top 5 receiver in the country, and he goes to the NFL draft. The Titans draft him, and he's contributed good things. He's done some good things for us, but has he done it in a top 10 level? No, he has not.
He's not been flashy, and he's not a guy that excites fantasy teams, although you could see that turn around with Tannehill at quarterback.
That's what I'm saying. He's got the quarterback. He's got other weapons around him to take the pressure off of him.
Right.
So it's going to be a big year. Because
he does a lot of the dirty work that a lot of people don't notice in the running game. He's there. He's a great blocker as far as a receiver. He runs great routes, and he is kind of the guy that sets up certain other plays. So, where maybe he's drawing that double coverage. And then guys like A.J. Brown, who is the guy that I selected to be my player to watch this year in his second year. Both the receivers that we picked here, but I think both of these guys are going to be an integral part of this 2020 offense.
Absolutely.
And again, you could mention the obvious ones. Derrick Henry, the most exciting player to watch there probably because he just trucks people over. But our players to watch, A.J. Brown, Corey Davis.
Well, it's just as we get on to the through the preview, I'll tell you why I think it'll be integral part. But Ryan, number 2, with a player to watch, I feel like this topic is just as important as a player to watch. It's a player that has the most to prove. So, Ryan, who is your player that has the most to prove?
I think it's our quarterback, Ryan Tannehill.
Okay.
So Marcus Mariota's out of town. They did not extend him. He's with Oakland. He'll be competing with Derek Carr out there. What we're going to see, Ryan Tannehill is the only proven commodity we have at quarterback. If something happens to him, we're in trouble. And not only that, but there's been a lot of people that have given him a lot of crap for the numbers in the playoffs. But the reason for this, and we've mentioned it before, the national media only looks at stat lines when it comes to Tennessee. It's almost like they don't even watch the game sometimes. Because even in those 2 playoff games where he didn't have over 100 yards passing, dude had tremendous plays that he made both with his feet and with his arm, with some very accurate passes, some clutch runs where you remember him flipping into the end zone. Ryan Tannehill, in my opinion, has the most to prove this year, and I'm confident he'll get it done.
Right. To me, before I get into mine, Ryan Tannehill is going to be the key. We know that Henry is the motor that's going to run the team. But in order for that motor to start up, it's got to start with the passing game and the quarterback. Yeah, it's on him. We paid him. There is no liable backup. This is saying, you're it. You are quarterback of the future from here on in.
Absolutely.
So my player to prove is Malcolm Butler. Now, if Michael Butler we signed about 2 years ago. Last year, he got injured. But before that, he really didn't show anything. He had a lot of busted plays. But it's just like, when he got injured, I'm not saying anything bad about the Cat, first of all, but our defensive secondary got better. I don't know if it's because of the leadership of Logan Ryan.
You got to see the growth from Adoree Jackson. Also, speaking of Logan Ryan, still a free agent. If we don't sign Clowney, why are we not at least thinking about giving him a deal and bringing him back?
Well,
if he wants to be back.
Well, we got Jonathan Joseph.
Right, but you can't have too many cover corners in this league.
Well, we got Christian Fulton. I mean, we've got a depth secondary.
Logan Ryan, though, was awesome for us. And he knows the defense.
But it's just, to me, Malcolm Butler is going to have to be something.
For sure. He was good.
He's got to be something.
He was definitely good for us, and we definitely did miss him when he was out. Now, we played well, but Malcolm Butler, we're better as a team with him on the field.
Exactly. So he's also got to prove that he's just not a product of the Patriot system.
Right. Got a big payday from the worst play call in the history of sports, right?
Yeah.
Pete Carroll got that man paid.
He did. But Ryan, I got number 3. The player that could let down is...
I left it blank.
You don't think nobody's going to let us down?
I can't get negative here. So the question, the player that could have a letdown here, you could name anybody. I left it blank because I want to remain positive here.
Well, it's not being negative. It's just being real.
All right.
We're going to have somebody that's just going to have not a disappointing year, but may not meet the numbers or expectations a little bit.
I'm just not putting that bad juju on any of my guys yet.
I'm going to say Derrick Henry.
Oh, Chuck.
I'm going to. I'm going to go there.
So what is a letdown for Derrick Henry? If he's not the rushing leader, if he doesn't hit 1,500 yards, what is a letdown? So a letdown to me is if we're losing games.
Well, it's just like I said the last time. Will this payday affect Derrick Henry? I don't think it will. That's not the reason. I think
he deserved every bit of it.
He did deserve it.
And he took less money than he could have.
That's what I'm saying. He might have deserved a little bit more.
For sure.
But to me, I see the dip in the numbers because I think it's going to lean more on the passing game this year. I do. I think you got that, and then you got these defenses that know. They kind of had an idea who Henry was the year before.
What are they going to do to stop him? They stacked the box last year, and look what he did. He ran right over him, and when he didn't, Tannehill pulled the ball right back out of his stomach, chucked it over the top, and that's exactly what we want for our offense.
But he took a beating in the playoffs especially.
He's built for it. That man puts in the work.
He's built for it, but the human body can only take so much. That's what worries me.
Yeah, but you're looking at a freak athlete. That's not a typical human.
I agree. 6'3", 6'4" at running back, that's unheard of other than Brandon Jacobs.
He's a giant human. He's like 250 pounds.
But my projection, the only letdown I see is possible injury.
Oh, don't say this.
You got to be real.
Chuck, so this is what I actually like about this tape. I like that you're putting some hate there on Derrick. Not hate necessarily, but you're being pessimistic. I think it fuels him. Whether he knows it or not, this bad juju fuels him, and it has in the past. I remember sitting at the lunch table with you, about 2 years ago, year ago, whatever it was, Henry was having the slump where, for whatever reason, the offensive play callers for the Titans wanted to keep giving the ball to Dion Lewis and keep feeding Dion Lewis and then bring Henry in there to give him a toss and a pitch left or right every once in a while, and they weren't using those backs correctly. And I remember you saying, I wish we would just trade that bum.
I did. I'm not going to afraid to admit it.
Right. And at that time, what did I tell you? I said, Chuck, we got to be patient here. We're not handling this talent the way that we need to be handling it.
What the Jacksonville game is obviously the 99-yard run is pretty much the one that really got things.
Put him on the map for America.
Yeah, that he's a bully. He's going to be a force to be reckoned
And
with.
ever since then, he's not slowed down a bit. You know, you just have to feed him. He's a guy that needs 20-plus carries a game, and you got to try to get to that number.
But that was nearly 2 years ago. So with that being said, between then and now, he's took a lot of beating. So
he's handed out, I feel like, more beating than he's taken. I think you're reaching.
I agree, but it goes both ways. Your body can take so much, and you could tell he was tired at the end of the season. But when he got the postseason, he had a different gear because it's win or go home.
I couldn't tell. His last game of the regular season, he won the rushing title. He went off in that game.
He did. But I see like maybe 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns this year.
And if we're winning games, that's a success for me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the reason I said that is to say number 4.
All right.
The team offense will pass. Well, go ahead.
The team offense, in my opinion, will need the O-line to take the next step where we saw them come together last year. Still some new pieces and some unknowns as far as, on that. I think right now, according to the depth chart, and we start on the strong side where we have Taylor Lewan at left tackle, Roger Saffold at left guard. The two of them didn't play good at all to start last year. Matter of fact, Lewan was suspended for the first 4 games, but when they did play together for the first time, didn't look great. But they came together. They played awesome towards the end of last year. Ben Jones has been just the absolute professional at center since we signed him from the Texans.
Oh, he's been a rock.
And then, of course, Nate Davis going into his second year as the starter, his first full year as the starter at right guard. And then, so right tackle, from what I understand, Isaiah Wilson, we mentioned earlier, has been put on the COVID list right now, where I guess he's awaiting a test.
Right.
We also have Dennis Kelly there. So I don't know who's going to start. Either one of those guys, I'm more comfortable with Dennis Kelly because we've seen what he can do, but I think Isaiah Wilson's going to be a monster for us.
He's going to be. Yeah, I mean, he's 6'6", 350 pounds.
Absolutely.
He's
So
a hoss.
I think that unit's only going to improve. We're going to see, but if they do improve, this offense is going to take off.
I agree, and it does start in the trenches. It does start in the offensive line. To me, the team offense will pass the ball a lot to help the running game. As you know, last year we had the running game, helped out the passing game because it was Henry. You see that enough, like you said, pull out from his stomach, Tannehill over the top, bam, touchdown. Ravens game, great example. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check the film out.
Check it.
But I think this year we're going to see a switch because it goes back to what I said about Corey Davis. We got Corey Davis, A.J. Brown, Adam Humphries, and Gianno Smith. These weapons are a little more proven now. A.J. Brown's more proven now. You got Corey Davis that wants to prove that he's not a bust, so he's going to have a chip on his shoulder. Adam Humphries, he's a good player too. And Gianno Smith has shown flashes of greatness.
So you think they're going to come out of the gate with a game plan to throw the ball around the yard a little bit more, to get defensive backs off a little bit off the line so that it'll open some gaps up for Henry? Because they're going to respect Henry. They're going to have to.
If you are a smart offensive coordinator, and I hope that Arthur Smith is a smart offensive coordinator.
I like what we've seen so far.
I do love the running game. It was the one way that sent us all the way to the AFC Championship. But teams are going to expect that. Teams are going to be waiting on Henry 8 in the box. And yes, he's going to be hard to stop.
I say bring it on. I don't think he's worried about those stacked boxes.
We've got to go over the top more. We've got to open up the playbook a little bit more.
Well, that's what it allows us to do. We got a lot of flexibility because, a good running game is good for the passing game. A good passing game is good for the running game. Let's just hope that we have some good play calling and, again, good blocking up front to make sure that all these things can happen the way they're supposed to happen.
So we've kind of touched on team offense. Let's talk about our defense, a very underrated defense that we have. So, to you, Ryan, team defense will
sack the quarterback a lot more. I think,
yes.
This defense, especially some of these young pass rushers that are going to be coming into their own here, I think we're going to see an improvement in that. And that's something that we definitely need. We're going to have to get after the quarterback quite a bit more so that we don't let him stand back there in that pocket so long. How many times are you sitting there and you're like, oh my gosh, why can't we get pressure? And some mediocre quarterbacks have picked us apart over the last couple of years.
Gardner Minshew is the greatest example of this. His first game starting against us, I remember, I think it was a Thursday or it was a primetime game, and he torched us. The reason is we couldn't get to him.
We shot ourselves in the foot in that one. I think we had a special teams fumble in the beginning. It was a primetime game.
Yeah, it was Dory fumble, but
it was a bad start.
But the reason I bring that up, we couldn't hardly touch Gardner Minshew.
Right. But when it comes to guys, we've re-signed Byard. Byard's going to be a stud back there as far as safety, and he probably floats into the box a little bit. But the real guys we're going to see improvements out of, I think, Rashaan Evans, Harold Landry III, Jayon Brown, Vic Beasley. If we look at just that small list of pass rushers, and then you got Jeffrey Simmons up front too.
That dude's going to be a tank.
And his main job, he's going to absorb 2 blockers on every play.
I am on board the Jeffrey Simmons train. I think this guy can be Aaron Donald.
I'm excited to see a full season.
I am. I think we're going to get a very good season. To me, the team defense will be the top 5 unit in every category in the NFL.
I like to hear that. I hope that's the case.
Because it's there. It's like you said, we've got the pass rushers. To me, we got the pass rushers. If we get Clowney, that's great. That'll add more pressure.
Oh, man. Just the cherry on top. That and the secondary. I think our secondary is one of the greatest in the league.
That's why I'm saying we've got Byard and Vaccaro. And then on the outside, we've got a returning Malcolm Butler. When he's on, he's on.
And Adoree Jackson's a guy I'm real excited to see.
Adoree Jackson. And then you may be in the nickel slot at defensive back. We may have Fulton. We've got Jonathan Joseph. And to me, we bulked up a lot on the secondary.
Yeah.
We met the draft needs. In draft, we got our needs filled, especially at corner. We went in the NFL free agency. Yes, Jonathan Joseph's a little bit aged,
He's a proven veteran.
He's a veteran. To kind of fill that Logan Ryan role, I'm not sure if he is signed. I've been sitting here thinking, like you said, is Logan Ryan signed or not?
He's not. He's a free agent right now.
All right. To me, like I said, I think we got enough. But if they want to go for it,
I don't think you can never have enough when it comes to, again, cover corners. Now, when it comes to that, the next question, the rookie that we think is going to break out the most. You mentioned him, Christian Fulton is my guy. I think out of LSU, second-round pick, cornerback. I like the pick. I love drafting SEC defenders, and I'm hoping that he's going to have a great career ahead of him. We'll see. I'm sure they'll ease him in like they've done Adoree and like they've done a lot of the other younger corners. But I'm excited to see what we see out of Christian Fulton. Who do you have listed as your breakout rookie?
That was mine too.
Christian?
I've got high expectation for this cat because I wanted him in the first round. But then, as you know, J-Rob pulled another why not both on us.
Boom. Same thing happened with the Landry pick.
Exactly.
I remember we were texting back and forth. We drafted Evans, and you're like, I can't believe this.
I was
wanted
upset,
Landry.
man. I wanted Landry. And he pulled the coup off and got – it's just like, why not both, baby?
And J-Rob we trust, right?
I trust the cat. He's turned us into a contending squad right now.
For sure, year after year. And he's made just some legendary moves,
but
including the DeMarco Murray trade.
But
It'll go down in the history
exactly.
books. Greatest trade of all time,
Exactly.
maybe.
But you touched on pretty much, what Fulton is. He's an SEC corner. And here lately, SEC secondary players that go to the NFL transition very well.
It's almost like a rule. If you want to draft stud defensive players, you want to start looking in the SEC because let's be honest.
Look at Fitzpatrick in Pittsburgh. He's from Alabama.
A lot of the players when you look across the league.
Kirkpatrick in the Cincinnati Bengals, a veteran corner. It's been a stable for the secondary. Alabama. I'm not being a Bama boy. I'm just pointing facts.
SEC is just a factory for NFL players.
Especially defense.
Especially.
So Fulton was mine. I mean, he didn't wow the stat sheet as far as like tackles or interceptions, but his defending the pass was ranked top 5 in the country.
That's what you like to hear.
That's all we need. Somebody to defend that pass. In a league where you have a Patrick Mahomes, especially in our conference, we've got to have a secondary, not necessarily pick off every pass that's thrown, but to defend the passes that are clutch. Look at Adoree Jackson. Defended passes against the Ravens. Like, he made Lamar Jackson's night a nightmare.
I'm so excited to not be playing DeAndre Hopkins twice a year, too, now. Because it seemed like every time we played the Texans, for whatever reason, it's like we would follow DeAndre Hopkins with like a second or third string cornerback, and they'd get smoked the whole game. Glad to not see him anymore.
Right. So we'll switch to number 7. The must-win game is...
I think the Texans, time 2. It's our number 1 opponent, I think, as far as in the AFC South that we have to worry about. I'm not so much worried about the Jaguars. They're going to keep doing their thing and jagging off down there in Jacksonville. The Colts, they've got Phillip Rivers there. Now, the quarterback room's a little bit deep because they got Jacoby Brissett, maybe one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league. But what's that going to do for you? That team's going nowhere. The Texans, both games against the Texans, I think, are going to be huge for us, just like where they were last year.
Well, are you saying that because of Deshaun Watson?
Well, yeah, it's the most competitive team that we're going to play. Things get heated with those two teams. I picture Finnegan and Andre Johnson when I think about the matchup. And you remember how that went.
Oh, that was... Who got the last laugh in that one?
You know what? Andre Johnson was just a huge individual. And I like Andre Johnson. There's no hate for him.
I commend...
It wasn't a fair fight. He ripped his helmet off. I feel like he should have ripped his own helmet off, and then they should have duked it out.
I commend Cortland Finnegan's feistiness, but... Yeah.
He's a guy that's not going to back down.
Andre Johnson is on another level big.
Finnegan's one of my all-time favorite Titans, too. He makes that
he's
list.
He's good. But that's a good opponent.
Who do you think is your must-win game?
Buffalo Bills.
Oh, we've blown a couple of games to those bums the last couple of years.
It's just, I am so sick and tired of the players and the Bills Mafia talking trash, saying if it wasn't for the Music City Miracle, we would own you guys. And you know what?
It wasn't a forward lateral, guys. Science proved it was behind the line.
Hey, did we blow a playoff lead last year, unlike you bums? No, we did not. We went all the way to the AFC Championship, my friends. And that
went up on the eventual champions to eventually give up that lead and let them go on in there and win it. But, you know, hey.
But, hey, I think Kansas City earned it.
Oh, they did. They did.
They earned it. And
we beat Kansas City earlier in the year. Now, when you say that, though, the Bills... I like that answer because that's a game we should win, and it's a game we should have won last year. We found ways to blow those games the last couple of years. I can't even. Who was the one bum in that game that dropped that in the corner of the end zone? The Williams kid, the white receiver.
Yeah,
he was. It's like they were interviewing after the game, and he like the look in his eyes. He was like, I'm cut. I'm going to be cut soon. What am I even? Just go ahead and clean my locker out.
Well, Shaq Lawson, who is no longer with that team no more, talked trash saying Taylor Lewan is weak. Roid freak, his roids let him down. Titans fans are trash. Notice how all our Bill Mafia fans were there and, just talking the trash, but he's no longer with the team. To me, we kind of got a silent rivalry with the Bills.
Oh, yeah.
It's there.
Old school AFC
but
rival.
I give them this. They got our number here lately. But
we find ways to blow games to teams that we should beat every year, and I think this is the year we're going to change that.
Their number's up this year. We're getting them.
Josh Allen got a good target there in Diggs. I don't know if it'll be enough. I think they've still got Frank Gore up there, right? They've got the Singletary kid, the running back.
I know, but they're saying Devin Singletary is supposed to be the main back.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. So, with that being said, we talked about the must-win game, but I think you kind of touched on it. The
toughest AFC South opponent, do we both agree it's the Texans?
It's the Texans.
It's the Texans. So, the next question then. At the end of the regular season, Chuck, the Titans will finish blank in the AFC South. Where do you think they're going to finish?
They're going to finish first place. It may be close, but they're going to finish.
I agree with that. I think we have the better team. We'll see how we do. The Texans are the main opponent here. We're going to have to worry about it in the division.
I think the reason we finished first place because I think we've got the better defense in the conference. Yeah. I mean, in the division.
Agreed. And Bill O'Brien, he doesn't know what he's doing down there with his roster moves.
I get that the Houston Texans have J.J. Watt and Merciless at the end spots there, but that's all they have.
David Johnson in that trade. So we'll see. Now, David Johnson will be key. Like, how good's he going to be for those guys? And how good's that offensive line going to be in patchwork?
And then you get these writers saying that the Colts win 9 games. Phillip Rivers, I believe, he will bring an upgraded quarterback, but is it enough to challenge us? No.
So many of these writers try to be the next Colin Cowherd nowadays, though. They just try to make ridiculous, off-the-wall statements to get attention because that's what seems to sell on the internet right now.
Now, do the Colts have talent? Yeah, they got talent. They got T.Y. Hilton. They got Darius Leonard at linebacker. I love that cat.
Do you think Phillip Rivers will play in like the bolo tie there in Indy?
Probably.
Why not? Bust it out. He's probably playing his final year anyways. Phillip Rivers got a lot of kids to support,
Lots
of kids. He needs his paycheck.
Needs that paycheck. But here's the 10th and final question. The Titans will reach and win the Super Bowl if they blank.
Stay healthy.
That's a big one.
And stay the course. Health is obviously a factor for every team. Every year, that's you see a team or two get totally taken out of contention because of a major injury or two. The Titans are one team that definitely needs to be on the good side of the injury bug this year. And again, we've just got to stay the course. When it comes to finding a rhythm on offense, we talked about them being flexible enough by having a good running game, having a good passing game. Let's get into a roll as far as that goes. You know what I mean? Let's find what works. And let's attack the weaknesses on the defense here. I don't want to see us get too stagnant as far as that goes in our play calling. You know what I mean? There's just times where you do. I've seen Arthur Smith call brilliant games, and there's been other games where I'm like, oh my gosh, I know what you're doing as far as with this next play from my couch.
Right.
So I have got all the confidence in them. If we can stay healthy, stay the course, I think the Titans definitely have a chance to win the Super Bowl. What do you think?
To use Tannehill effectively. This goes back to why I said passing the ball a lot more to help the running game. I really think we need to reverse roles a little bit. Not abandon the run, but still make run our main thing. But the defenses are going to come after us. Look at the AFC Championship game. First quarter, we ran the ball effectively on them. But they adjust. Chris Jones and all them in the middle made it a hard time for the rest of the game for not only Derrick Henry, but Tannehill. Tannehill was basically having to run through his life because they got behind.
Yep.
That's the key. We can't get behind. We're not Patrick Mahomes. We don't have a Patrick Mahomes to get us out of a hole. And we don't.
We saw Tannehill win some come-from-behind efforts. I think Tannehill's got what it takes. And so what you're saying is with Tannehill, they're going to want to come out and throw the ball more to set up the run. So you're playing on that as far as using properly, right?
Right. And I'm not saying he should come out and have 400 yards, be a, Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes. Be effective enough to get us a couple of touchdowns a game. Like the Baltimore game was the prime example how to use Tannehill effectively. They were coming after Henry, even though they couldn't stop him. There was a lot of good play-action plays there. Over the top on the Ravens. Bam. Make it. And it was on a dime. Every time he made the throw, on a dime.
But again, a lot of those set up by the running game.
But we're going to have to open the playbook.
The running game is a quarterback's best friend.
It is.
Keeps that pass rush kind of at bay and makes them think twice about it.
And I'll say it over and over again. Don't abandon the run, but remember that you have a passing game. Remember that you got receivers.
Please don't abandon the run.
I don't think we will. That'd be ridiculous if we did.
I agree with that. Well, Chuck, we've hit on a lot, man. We've hit on, I think, most of all of the major sports leagues and the news we've seen coming out of those. We hit on the top 5 sports movie villains of all times. We loved and chucked a couple of topics. And then we've talked about our Titans season preview. You got anything to close with?
I've got something that's pretty awesome to close with.
What you got?
All right. As you know, the Major League Baseball teams have been kneeling and stuff during the national anthem and stuff. If you notice in one of the San Francisco Giant games, there's a pitcher that stood up for the national anthem while the rest of his teammates knelt. Now, his name is James Conroy. Not a really big name. You've never heard of him, right?
Right.
So he's not a big...
Until I saw that story, I hadn't heard of him.
Okay, so you know where I'm going with this.
Right.
So...
It's a kind of a hot topic.
It is a hot topic, but I'm turning this into a positive, and the reason why. After the game, as you know, when the press sees that, they've got to swarm it. They've got to ask the question, why did you stand while your teammates were kneeling? And he says, I will always stand for the national anthem, and the only thing that I will kneel to is before my God, Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
And you have to respect his decision just as well as you respect everyone else's decision to kneel, I guess.
Exactly. And the point, I bring that up as awesome news, he stood up for what he believed in. He didn't kneel down because of the peer pressure from his teammates, from the outside world of this, saying, if you don't agree with me, then you're racist, you're white supremacist.
And that's the first thing you saw from a lot of the critics as far as online, was that they're the first ones to jump out there and say, look at this act of defiance.
Exactly.
That he's not supporting his teams. He's not supporting, the people of color in the MLB. And I don't think that's what he's showing at all. He's got his own standards and he's got his own ethics. And he has just as much of a right to stand up for those two.
And he stood up, including when, the press is in his face. I'm sure he got... If he had Twitter or anything else, anything on social media, he caught heat, but he stood up for what he believed in. The reason that this is awesome, folks, stand up for what you believe in. If you believe in the same stuff that everybody believes in, then you're in great shape. You have nothing to worry about. But if you believe in something and it doesn't go against your morals, but it goes against others, folks, just believe what you want to believe in. Don't let somebody peer pressure you into forcing something that you don't believe in or goes against, like you said, your ethic code or your moral code. So I applaud you, James Conroy, and that is awesome stuff.
Deep. Good stuff, Chuck. You know what? Some more awesome stuff. Sports are here, man. We got sports coming up. I'm staying optimistic. We've got basketball starting. We got baseball going. We're going to keep track on some bowling and everything else that we get a chance to. I can't wait to live bet. I can't wait to get into some fantasy sports.
Right.
Should we be lucky enough to be able to make that happen. Chuck, I'm just excited to talk some more, and that's all I've got for you today.
Maybe next episode we'll talk about some fantasy football, what to look out for.
Can't wait.
Yeah. So even though it may be season in Liberty and Jeopardy or Limbo, we're still going to talk about it. We got
to talk about it.
Sports are back. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in to Run and Shoot Podcast. I'm Chuck.
And I'm Ryan.
And we'll talk to you later, guys. See you next episode.